Hello, I am Dale from Dale's Rock Interviews and Metalliville-zine magazine, and I'm joined by CJ Wildheart. How are you?
I'm very well, Dale. I'm about to hit my perfect time of the year, late spring, early summer. So yeah, I'm good. Out of
Yeah,
hibernation, rocking.
out of hibernation. Yeah, a lot of you artists, we tend to wheel out just after Christmas and defrost you and get you back on the road.
I live in North Yorkshire now, and it's 6 months of pure gloom, and that's just the summer.
Yeah. Hey, my dad were a Yorkshireman. You can't start going around insulting us Yorkshiremen, you know.
That's not an insult, it's a fact. No one moves to Yorkshire for the weather.
I must admit, I agree with you there. Me and you have actually got something in common. We're both army brats, and
Oh,
you also lived in Germany, which is where I was born. Uh,
oh,
so,
nice.
uh, yeah, so your dad served, how long were he in?
Oh, over 25 years. Yeah, he was a medic, and my mum was 9 years as a nurse in the
Oh,
military.
so they were
So,
both in.
yeah, but back then, nurses weren't allowed to be married. So when she eventually married, like my dad, she had to leave the army. Yeah, so that was
Oh, wow.
way back in the
Very
60s.
narrow-minded view, that.
Well, it was to do with if you're a married couple and you got posted to different parts of the world or different, you'd have to separate, wouldn't you? So
Yeah, yeah, I
back
suppose.
then, yeah, back then, the female of the species had to give up the job, didn't they? Good luck
Yeah.
trying to replace that now.
Oh, well, good grief, they'll all go on strike.
Where
My,
in
my dad,
Germany were you born? Where in Germany were you born?
I was Saltau,
Saltau,
Hereford.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
know. I lived in Rintown for five
Oh,
years.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's very close.
It
And
is
then
very close.
yeah, really close, same area. And then Munster for a couple of years. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. I know Munster as well. My dad, he went in as what's called a scaly back, a Royal Signal, for
yeah,
15 years. And
yeah.
he ended up having a shoulder operation. So while he was recovering, he worked as a medic as well.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I loved growing up in the army, but it was very unsettling. Six different schools, four different countries by the time I was 15. And I went to I did my last year of schooling in North Essex, my first kind of civilian school. And yeah, it was a baptism of fire.
Yes. It put me off from joining up. Um, all my family had been in the army, dating back to, many generations. And it put me off from joining up. So I never took that leap.
There was no way I was going to be in the army. I don't salute anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I
Don't
agree with you
salute,
on that.
bow, or curtsy. There isn't a human being in the world I'd do that to, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only person I probably would salute to is my lady, and that's only because she told me to.
That's good. That's different. Yeah.
So y- you're a punk. You're a punk background. You do punk sort of music. It's punk rock, and
Yeah.
as you can see, I've got the classic mohawk. It's growing inwards.
Yeah. Inverted. Yeah.
You
I've
was
got a
in the
mohawk. I've got a mohawk, but it's just not on my head anymore.
yeah. I always say that I spent hours doing my hair, but I left it in the dryer.
Yeah. I mean, my solo music has always been described as punk and roll.
Yes,
So, but my heart is of a punk rocker. Although I played
yes,
in rock bands and sleazy bands, but yeah, my solo music is definitely it's way punkier than the Wildhearts, for instance, the
yeah.
band unknown.
Because I'd say
Yeah,
the Wildhearts is more sleazy, like the bands behind me, Dogs Do More and Choir Boys, and
yeah. I mean,
it's
the Wildhearts mixed sleaze, rock, metal, thrash,
yeah,
pop. We mixed it all together. I mean, there was elements of prog in us as well because we were so musical as a band.
yeah,
So you can't pigeonhole the Wild Arts; it's impossible. But my solo music is, yeah, it's very punk with elements of rock, a little tinge of metal. But as I get older, I get more punk. It's just
yeah.
a natural default setting for me.
Well, when I was younger, for me it was all about the heavy metal and the thrash music, and You know, I was aware of the Sex Pistols, but never listened to the Sex Pistols, and I was aware of the Clash, but never really listened to them. And it weren't the area which I went into. As I got older, I started to get more into. When I say American punk bands, I'm not talking about Green Day and crap like that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Green Day and good quality bands like that. I'm talking like Against Me. I absolutely loved Against Me. Um,
Yeah,
and then I listened to your music, and straight away I immediately felt home with it. It's similar to what I was listening to back in the 2000s, and I was like, why have I not discovered CJ Wildheart before? I've avoided the Wildhearts because it weren't my sort of circle. But then when I listened to your music, your solo music, it spoke to me more on a level than me listening to the Wildhearts.
that's such a nice compliment, that is. But I mean, obviously, I mean, I do have a much more punk stance in the Wild Arts, as I explained earlier. I mean, for instance, my favorite US band are Descendants, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
I just love, and I've loved them since I was a young teen. And my favorite British band are the Clash.
yeah,
So, of course, if I'm going to go forwards as a solo artist, I'm gonna be influenced by bands I really love, and that's
yeah,
why what was really good about me and Ginger working together in the Wild Hearts is the fact that we both loved the same bands, but we also loved very different bands, and the
yeah,
chemistry that brought to the sound of the Wild Hearts was integral to the makeup of the band.
yeah,
But you know, you take me out of the Wild Arts, my both feet are going to be in the punk rock camp, yeah, rather
yeah,
than the sleaze or thrash or rock
yeah.
camp. Yeah.
Because for me, Megadeth's version of Anarchy in the USA, was a version I heard before I heard Sex Pistols' Anarchy in the UK.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm always in love with the Megadeth one. It's just one that I grew up listening to, and it's funny how that works. But I mean, Bodies and from the Sex Pistols and quite a few other Sex Pistols songs are just outstanding. And then I listened to your I Don't Know What It Is, and that's got a
Yeah.
very Sex Pistols sound to it. And so
Yeah.
you can hear the influence in your music from the bands that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I wear the bands I rip off. I rip them off with pride and wear them on my shoulders with neon lights on them. I don't hide behind. There's nothing worse than someone who thinks they've reinvented the wheel and taking it as their
Yes.
own. You know,
Yeah.
because that's just like, get over yourself, man. You're just ripping off, you know, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard my latest album, which is about to come out. I don't know if you heard that because I'm ripping off the Pistols quite blatantly on about three or
Right.
four songs on that. There's
Well,
even
I've
a song
only
in there
heard
called
Yeah. I've only heard one of your songs from that, which
Yes.
is One of the Boys, which is a very good song.
Thank
And
you.
that was the first one I listened to where straight away like, oh, this reminded me of Against Me and stuff like that, you know. And that made my ears prick up and made me want to listen to more of your music. And now I've been listening to your back catalogue and I mean, Slots is amazing. Absolutely love that song from your last album. Is it your last album?
It
Yeah,
was
your
my
last
last
album.
album.
Yeah, that's
I've
right.
made a lot of albums, so I forget
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
Well, you have. You've got 13 in 2007, then Mabel 2014, Robot 2016, Blood 2017, Siege 2020, Lives 2022, Slots, which was last year, and you've got a new album coming out. So have you got a title?
Yeah, the new album's called Devil, but you missed out Split, which came out before Slot, and then you
Oh, right.
missed out Kicks, which was my live album as
Yeah,
well.
but
So it's
Kicks is a live album. That's not a studio album. So
no,
there's
that best of I re-recorded 15 songs for it, so that's a studio album. So it's nine. This is album number nine, which is Devil,
yeah,
which comes out in June. But
right.
I mean, I'll be really honest to you. I don't listen to my own music. So obviously, when I work on my own and I record most of the albums on my own, and then go to a studio to mix it with my producer Dave Draper and to get Jason Bold plays drums on all my albums to replace the program drums I've used to record on my home setup. But once an album's kind of out, I probably will never listen to it again.
Yeah,
And it happens a lot. Sometimes I'll see something on social media and someone's got some music attached to it, and I go, oh, that sounds all right, and it's actually me, and I have no idea. No, it's happened so many times. I have no idea. It's an
yeah,
album from 12 years ago, which I haven't listened to in 12 years, and I have no
yeah.
idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. You also covered the jam in the city. I've got a sort of hate relationship with my jam, mostly because growing up with my sister, who was 2 years older than me, she was a mod. You know, I was a metalhead, and she listened to the jam and the Style Council, and it were always because she was 2 years older than me. It was always her music. I weren't allowed to listen to my music in the living room. You know, but I mean, children don't understand. Back then, we had one telly, you know, so
Yes.
it had, you know, and one stereo. It had to be her music, and so it was always me and her fighting. You know, it was always her wanting to watch Saturday Swap Shop and me wanting to watch Tiswas, so we're fighting again, and you know, so the jam reminds me of. You know, it's like a love-hate thing. It reminds me of my sister who passed away a few years ago, and
Oh, sorry.
no, it's one of those things. But it reminds me of my sister, so I've got the fond memories, but I've also got the horrible memories of her kicking me in the face quite a lot.
I love that. I mean, what's really odd is I've always loved In the City. It's my favorite jam song, and
Yeah,
it's got this so pistol-y as well. I'm sure the Pistols ripped off the intro riff. They definitely did. But the first time I saw that song, and I really like bass players, especially punk bass players, and Bruce Foxen was just a great punk bass player. And for me, because what Weller turned into was it just Style Council and then his solo stuff. I mean, I wouldn't even go there. It's just not for me. But the
yeah,
Jam, when they were punking out, they were brilliant. But what's really odd is a lot of people didn't know that was a Jam
yeah,
cover, and they thought it was actually an original song by me because they've never heard In the City before.
yeah,
And it was brilliant. It was great that I can do a classic jam song, and then people who are not aware of it thought it was one of mine. It's really good.
yeah.
Such a
So
compliment.
I was at Download Rock Festival last year, and the Sex Pistols were there, but Frank Carter
Yeah.
was the singer, and before he were on stage, a lot of social media, gin him flack that he's a pretender and everything. And
Mm.
I've seen smaller um, original punk bands out on the scene, and watching him absolutely dominate that second stage. I've never seen anything more punk in all my life. How he were, I thought he were absolutely fantastic.
I think
But
it's great that they're going back out there doing it. You know,
yeah, yeah, no, it was great.
everyone's got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah,
It's better than like seeing Paul Cook working at your local McDonald's or Steve
yeah.
Jones in Argos, isn't it?
Oh well, definitely, 100%. I thought it was great, and the young crowd who weren't familiar with the Sex Pistols were eating it up. They were absolutely loving it. I think modern day punk seems to be coming across more. You got the traditional punk, but I think a lot of metalcore is very punk. Listening to it, and I think a lot of the punk comes from being obviously anti-establishment, but there's also the anger. They want to shout at the world. And that's what metalcore is doing. The young crowd are coming and they're angry and they're shouting at the world. And I like that. I like that raw emotion that's attached with punk and that sort of genre.
I mean, there's a couple of, I mean, like, it's really hard for me to be accepted by a lot of the older punks because I didn't come up through that scene.
Yeah,
But what I've noticed with one of the boys, my latest single, is a lot of older punks have jumped on it because they're
yeah,
like, "Wait a second, who's this young upstart?" Not knowing that I'm almost 60. And it's a real compliment when these older punks, go, I really like this. I wasn't expecting this from a Wildheart, and it is a real compliment. But talking about the Sex Pistols in 1996, I had my band Honeycrack at the time. We played with them twice. We did a
yeah,
couple of festivals on the main stage with them when Lydon was in the band. When the Filthy Lucrator when they got, and they were amazing. I mean, it
yeah.
was just insane. to see them. But I know very little about this resurgence of the Sex Pistols with Frank Carter. Every time there's anything on my social media, there's just tons of older punks slagging it off, saying it isn't the Pistols without, Lydon
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
But, as I said, you know, they got they got bills to pay. I know how rich those Sex Pistols are, man. They're not short of a bother too, but they still got bills to pay.
yeah. Of course, you did Honeycrack with Dowling,
Yeah,
who is now doing the rounds with Spike and Spike's Choir Boys, and
that's strange. Yeah,
yeah, he's quite.
yeah, Willie Boys. Yeah,
Oh no, he's quite the character, isn't he?
Willie. Yeah, you know what's really really good is this year is the 30th anniversary of our album, our debut album, a one and
Yeah,
only live
your
album.
one and only album, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even to this day, when I look back at that album, it's still the most musical and technically efficient album I've ever been part of. And a lot of that had to do with the caliber of the musician I was working with. Willie is an unbelievably talented musician and producer. And what worked in Honeycrack was my punk rock stance and his Beatles stance and bringing it together. I calmed down his natural default setting of trying to make everything sound really polished and perfect, and that just takes the vibe, the sexiness and the soul out of music, and it was
Yeah,
really good. We were a perfect meeting, angel and a demon straight in the middle, the honey and
yeah.
the crack.
The
But
Honey and Crack,
it's the
yeah,
30th anniversary this year, and I mean, Willie knows that I'd love to do some Honey Crack shows, but he's so reluctant. And I always say, everyone has a album. If you've had a long career over 40 years, like both me and Willie, you have
yeah.
a album. I have a couple. I have that Honey Crack album. I have Earth versus the Wildhearts. Maybe a couple of my solo albums, but Willie has that one album, that Honey Crack album, and he owes it a lot more respect than he gives it. Yeah.
There's, I might be wrong, but that was your band after Wildheart split, and there was a
Yeah, I
lot of drugs,
was,
drink, and arguments to do with the Wildhearts, and then they split, and they helped you become a better musician. Jace Edwards from Wolfsbane and Willie Dowling, and they helped you sort of find yourself again. Is that right?
yeah, well, Jace wasn't involved in Honeycrack. Well, what Honeycrack enabled, because I was sacked from the Wildhearts while the Wildhearts were very popular,
Yeah,
and I signed a really good record deal with. I changed labels from Warner to Sony, changed management,
yeah,
and it's it during that period when I was in the studio, everyone in Honeycrack knew their way around studios and stuff like that. And working with the Wildhearts, it was a rock and roll band,
yeah,
and I suddenly went, I want to do what you guys are doing, because you're all making these fantastic demos at home and stuff. So it planted the seed that, not just about going out on tour and doing the rock and roll things. I did that for many decades, but there's also a science behind putting music together. And
yeah,
Willie planted that seed. And then after Honeycrack, I put a band called the Jellies together. I
yeah,
started doing some demos and working a bit with Jace, and
yeah.
he showed me how to start recording for myself. And
Yeah, that's why I've
um,
got him down as helping you, is because of the recording, and he
yeah,
showed you the path of how you could sort of do it without all the structure. You can do it yourself.
there's been in my career, because I make albums on my own now, but there's four people I consider really influential on me. One of them is Ginger as a songwriter, but then there's Willie and Jace on the technical side. They just really opened my eyes. And then my producer, Dave Draper, who I've made about probably 13, 14 albums with. The guy is just a genius. And if you're awake around that guy and your eyes are open and your ears are open and your mind is open, you can't help but suck in some of his talent. And some of
Yeah.
his talent is rock. And I wouldn't be talking to you today if it wasn't for Dave Draper. Yeah, he's
Wow.
perfect.
Yeah. Excellent. Um, one of your first bands that got any sort of traction was wonderfully titled "Tattooed Love Boys."
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that was God, 18 I was, maybe in the
Yeah.
80s. That was the band that got me to London. I signed my first ever record deal with as well.
yeah,
And the band that Ginger came to see me play at the Hippodrome, Peter Stringfellow's old club in London. He was bought by a guy called Razel, who was an artist and journalist at Kerrang magazine, used to do Pandora Peroxide, and introduced us at that gig. And me and Ginger said, let's form a
yeah.
band together. That band was the Wildhearts. Yeah,
The
biggest
Wildheart.
mistake I
Well, I'm so glad you didn't carry on the wonderfully named tattooed love boys because
There was I tell you, as I was growing up, so when I was about 15, 16, 17, I was into punk. I was really into thrash metal, like
yeah,
early Metallica. Right? I stopped liking Metallica after Master of Puppets. My favorite member had gone,
yeah,
passed away. So
yeah,
I stopped. I don't think I've listened to a Metallica album since. Probably I haven't listened to the Black album, the one before it, Justice for All. Um,
yeah,
but and then I went through a little glam sleaze period for about a year and a half to 2 years. And then I got into rock and I stopped really listening to rock music in the early 90s.
yeah,
And the one thing that always is that punk thing. But I needed to be going for that glam thing because it got me my first record deal. It got me
yeah,
into London, got me to the Marquee Club, and introduced me to Ginge, and we went on to form the Wild Arts.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
an
yeah.
part of my life.
But by the way, just saying the Black Album, you've dodged a bullet with that one because a lot of women will be screaming at me because it is a pop album. There's no two ways about it.
I mean, I'm not worried about. I love pop. I mean, right. Confession time. I don't listen to guitar music anymore, and the reason
Yeah,
why is I spend about 8 to 9 months of the year recording, writing, and I've always been around guitars, and it does my head in hearing guitars. So I always listen to dance or classical music. I
yeah,
mean, they've always been my life, and I love pop music. That's why my songs have so much melody. But
yeah,
well, I mean, with Metallica, they were just my favorite Metallica album is Kill 'Em All, and I got
yeah.
into Metallica way before their albums came out. I heard a demo of hers
Oh
when I was
wow.
about 4, and a demo with Mustaine playing on
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
they had a
Wow.
song in there called Panic, which I just fell in love with, which on the first album became the Four Horsemen,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That's
Kill 'Em All. I was waiting for this album to come out, and it was a religious experience for me, hearing
yeah,
that album. But I just Cliff Burton was just a beast, absolute
yeah.
beast, yeah. And then
I just have to
obviously the
say, your microphone seems to be going in and out over the last couple of minutes.
church. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah,
So yeah, my interest in Metallica waned, but I had no idea they were going to become the monstrously huge band they have
yeah,
become. It's incredible. They're absolutely
yeah.
incredible.
Well, I couldn't get into Metallica because it was my dad's band. My dad were into Metallica, so I had to go to Iron Maiden. I couldn't like the same band as my dad. Um, and I mean, I love Master of Puppets. I think that's a fantastic album. But growing up with a rocker for a dad and a rocker for a mum, I'd be listening to Slayer and Megadeth, and my dad will come in saying, "Oh, what's that you're listening to?" and sit on the bed, and then a bit later, my mum will come in, so I'm listening to Iron Maiden. Well, that sounds really good, and it was such a buzzkill. So I ended up getting a Walkman and listening to it on my Walkman, but on my little record player, I'd be playing Madonna really loud because Madonna pissed my mum off massively.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that was the way I rebelled, was listening to Madonna.
Oh wow, that's a really good story. That yeah, I toyed with Iron Maiden through the first two albums. I love Paul Di'Anno's voice, but again, the
Yes.
minute Dickinson started wailing, that was it. I'm out. I'm out. I
Yeah.
can't. I don't like really high pitched shrieky singers. I never have. It's
Yeah.
not. They're not
But
my.
it's funny because you mentioned about the polished sound. And for me, that's the reason why I don't really like Gary Moore, but I do like Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was raw, intense. Gary Moore was just beautifully polished, and it was just too clean for me.
See, I my whole approach to life is I like the dull diamonds.
Yeah,
I like something that has some sort of precious value, but it hasn't been polished within an inch of its life.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm same with that. Going back to your career, because I could talk music all day with you. Um, you supported Michael Monroe from Hanoi Rocks and Ricky Warwick and the Fighting Hearts, and you're going to Scotland for Bonfest on Friday, May the 1st, where you're going to be rejoined with Ricky Warwick and the Fighting Hearts, as well as Wolfsbane and Somville and Reef. That's going to be an interesting lineup.
Will Spain I've known since I started doing Will Spain gigs well over 40 years ago. I started supporting them and playing shows with them.
Yeah,
And I've known them for a very, very long time. Jeff, the bass player, was in my band, the Jellies, for
yeah,
about 4 years with me. Obviously, we talked about Jace, who I've worked with lots.
yeah,
Steve Davis, I just like, he's been a buddy of mine for forever, and and Blaze is Blaze.
yeah. Blaze is Blaze. Is
Yeah,
fantastic. I love Blaze.
he's so eccentric. He's so eccentric, but it's always good. Ricky's playing the day after us, but it's always good. Wolfsburn are playing the same day as us, and it's always good hooking up with old buddies and friends. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Wolfsbane. We got to see them last year, them in Sheffield, and I wear loud shirts. I wore a very punk Cookie Monster today because I thought there's nothing more punk than Cookie Monster. So I thought I wear loud shirts when I do gig photography and gig reviews, so I stand out. And Blaze Bailey's now sort of recognises me and says, "Hello, Dale," which is
Oh,
really surprising because I've loved him in Iron Maiden and I've loved him with Wolfsbane, and now he knows me. It's like a very weird feeling.
that's lovely. I mean, I think it's really good that Blaze has been recognised by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well, because
Yes,
at first
definitely.
he wasn't, and but I mean, Iron Maiden. I just yeah, those first two albums. I love Paul Diano. He looked like a punk as well, but those first two albums were big when I was like 11 or 12, and they were the first band I ever saw live as well when I was 12
Oh,
on the
wow.
Iron support opening for Kiss in Germany on the Unmasked tour.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So you got to see Paul Diano with Iron Maiden. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, I saw them on the Iron Maiden tour, and I saw them on the Killers tour as well. Yeah,
Oh, wow. You're very
yeah,
lucky. Uh,
yeah.
I love Paul Diano. I got to meet him finally in 2024, just about a month before he passed, sadly, at Stone Dead Festival. And he was
Yeah.
such a lovely, lovely bloke. Had a really long conversation, much to the annoyance of all the people waiting to meet him.
Oh, that's nice. It's such a shame especially I know he had his demons and stuff, substance and alcohol abuse, but it's such a
Yeah,
shame. It happens a lot in this industry, and you know, uh, I I can never preach. I did enough bad things to float, a small country, but we all
yeah,
did, and but I stopped when I was like 40, when I hit 40, and I barely drink now.
yeah,
I haven't touched that in a long time.
yeah,
Almost 20 years,
yeah,
and yeah, I'll have the odd G&T, but for me, I want to live a long time. I don't want to like burn out young. It's not
yeah.
nice. It's not good. Yeah.
No, what is it? Better to burn out than fade away, as the saying goes, which I totally disagree with that one myself. But
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, it's funny you said straight away because both my parents had dementia, and I saw
yes,
them straight away. I would never. I mean, I've said this before, but if I touch wood, I had the misfortune to be going down the same road they were, I'd take myself out of the equation before I ended up like my dad and my mum. I know what's going to happen, and
yeah,
I couldn't get my way through that, and I don't want to. I'll go out on my own terms. I want to go
yeah,
out on fire, but I want to be a bit further down the road if possible.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Don't we all? I lost my sister and my dad both to drink, which is the big reason why I hardly touch anything. I then ended up on a lot of legal drugs, painkillers, because I'm got lots of different issues. But I didn't like how they made me feel, so I just stopped them. Um, I occasionally have a Bailey's, and if I have two Baileys, I start questioning myself: Do I have a problem? You know, I don't
Is that
don't want
two
to go.
bottles?
Yeah, So
first
I
half
don't want
was
to go
all
down that route. So I feel your pain. Losing your parents is horrendous. Losing my dad actually happened on Download Festival 2014.
oh wow.
Metallica were about to go on stage, and my dad was a Metallica fan. So I get a
Wow.
phone call, you've got to come back. And he passed away next day. And
Wow.
as he were laid there, I turned around to my dad and I says, you've done that on purpose because you knew I was going to see Metallica for the first time, which was your band. And he smiled.
No.
And then I thought, well, when he passed, I just sat around moping. I still had my download wristband, and I thought, stuff it. So we went back to the festival. I ended up moshing with a load of Chilean guys to Black Sabbath, and it was very cathartic. And I know my dad would have approved to that.
Yeah, no, my dad always used to say life goes on, and I mean, because they both had dementia, there was a huge amount of relief when they went. I mean, I was begging my dad for the last 2 years of his life just to go. You
Yeah,
know, it was
yeah,
all it was a shell of the man he was. A soldier. I knew him as a young kid, and yeah, I will not ever go through that, or
yeah.
put my loved one. They didn't do it intentionally, but God,
No,
that was
no.
that was a journey I don't ever want to repeat.
Yeah. My dad was same army bloke, rugby, football, boxing, gymnastics, and he ended up in a wheelchair, paralysed, and for the last 3 years, now we're the same as you. It was a relief. But all this has gone really downhill, depressing, and that lot. So we'll carry on that
I
vein
find
because
it
you,
quite, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I find it quite cathartic talking about death, and I think a lot of people are very scared of it,
yes,
and I think it's something you just need to be aware of. It's going to happen to all of us at some point, and
well, yeah,
I don't find it, as I said, I found it a relief. And as much as I miss my parents, I mean, I grieve a lot and it saddens me, but I'm relieved that their
yeah,
suffering's over and left it, you know.
yeah.
Sometimes
I felt like that with my dad. His issues, which led to his death, were through drink. And my sister, 47, and hers was drink like a dad. She started at a young age, nicking my dad's rum, and she just carried on until she went. Um, and of course, you did a song, staying on this sort of level. You did a song in about COVID called Coma.
yeah.
Um, yeah, which is
There's a
uh,
few Coma's about the country, state of the country. Yeah,
yeah,
it was. They put us in a coma, like the double whammy, the Brexit thing, and then COVID. The country was like I felt like we were put to sleep.
yeah,
You know, Brexit had a profound effect on my business. I run my own label, and
yeah.
my overseas trade was gone by about 85%, literally like that.
Wow.
And that was a direct result of Brexit. And then COVID hit as well. And
Yeah.
I, the world will never go back to what it was pre-COVID.
No.
Something happened to the world, and I feel. I mean, people are waking up now. That are waking up a lot different to what the world was before COVID, and I
Yes.
prefer that then. And there's a few songs on the new album I'm addressing. The very opening song 999, spelled the German word 999, is
Yeah.
about what's going on in the world at the moment. And then there's an anti-war song called No More as
Yeah.
well. The
Well,
way the world is.
I'm a massive military aviation enthusiast. I was down at RAF and Lake Mead taking photos. I love military aircraft, but I hate why they're here and what they do. There's not many people, sane people, who actually like what military aircraft do. If you like them, we hate the end product, what they're designed for. So the war at the minute is bittersweet for me. I'm getting some very interesting aircraft coming over, but unfortunately they're going over to kill people. So it's a very bittersweet. And the way the world is at the moment, I bet you've got a lot of material you could write at the minute.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The easiest songs to write are the angry ones.
Yes.
It's like, and a lot of songwriters say that when the minute you start firing up guitars and you start screaming, it's really easy to do that. It's
Yeah.
I personally find it easy. So I am on purpose trying not to. I had the album Siege, which I recorded during COVID, and that's my
Yeah.
really angry album. Just about every song on there is a protest song, and I'm screaming on it. But I always have one or two kind of angry songs. But I don't. I'm not an angry person, and I'm not an angry artist. I have moments when I can tap into anger. I just need to read the news. Look at
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Right?
Yeah.
Think of Brexit. Think of how my business has been impacted. It's easy to tap into anger. It's a
Yeah.
really easy emotion, I find. But
Yeah.
I
That's why you're not an
everyone
angry person, because you're putting it all on paper. That's why you're not angry.
Well, I exercise the demons. I exercise
Yeah.
those feelings through my music. Um, Everyone needs an outlet, and if you can do it healthily, and I do it through my music. So, I mean, I was an angry young man, and I'm not an angry old man. So, whatever journey I've been on has had some sort of beneficial impact on my brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got your festival, Bonfest that you're doing. You've got a gig before that, I believe. The Carlisle Brickyard on the 30th of April. Is that like a little warm up before your festival appearance?
It is my band doesn't play live much. I mean, last year was the most my solo band played. We did two UK tours, we did a Japanese tour, and a few little gigs in between. But I'm struggling to get shows now this year. At my level, unfortunately, most Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays are taken up by the tribute bands, and I understand why promoters are putting them on because it's a guaranteed crowd puller. They're cheaper than original artists, and it keeps their venues afloat. And right
Yeah,
now, you keep your business afloat and do it in a decent way, then hats off to you, But I'm struggling to get shows now, so I'm looking forward to doing Carlisle. It'll be amazing and warm up before we do our Bonfest thing, and then I have a Scott Sorry like a basic benefit gig on October
yeah.
30th this year until I get a Japanese tour, which I'm hoping to finalize quite soon.
I've got that
Yeah.
wrote down because my writing's terrible. I never can find anything. So yeah, the Still Kings Scott Sorry Memorial Show remembering Gerard Scott. You've got Sammy Yaffer from the New York Dolls, Hanoi Rocks, and Dragon from Backyard Babies, Rich Jones, the Black Halos, and the Scott Sorry Band, and of course
Yeah,
yourself. And that's
yeah.
at
There's more people
KK's,
doing that. Yeah.
KK Steel Mill, which is a wonderful venue, absolute brilliant venue.
Love it. Yeah. It's just I've done lots of shows there in the last like few years, and it's just brilliant. I think it's really nice to remember in Scott as well, and I know there's going to be more guests added over the next, you know, month or so. So I think it's going to be a brilliant night, and it's a really good one for Wildheart fans as well.
Yeah,
Really good one.
I have to say, talking about cover bands, you really need to do Snot Chocolate.
You know how many people have saying that to me? It's mental.
Well,
Yeah.
you've got Elvano, you've got which is an Elvis Nirvana tribute. You've got Nick Cage Against the Machine, which is Nicolas Cage Rage Against the Machine. Tragedy, the All Metal Bee Gees. Then you've got Metallica, Beatles, Metallica, Led Zeppelin, which is reggae and Led Zeppelin. Um, Snot Chocolate. It's punk hot chocolate. What's not to like?
It's like I mean, as my audience gets older, they buy less and less physical products, so CDs and T-shirts and vinyl. I sell less now, so I make less money from music now. Although my
Yeah,
music's more popular than it was, 10 years ago. But so I'm in this predicament where I'm 58 and I might have to get a part-time job to if I want to carry on making music. And they'll go, don't get a part-time job, go out as a tribute, go out as Snot Chocolate. And I went, I'm not a musical actor. It's just not in my makeup. I've always played original music, and I'll feel like I've
you've sold out.
I feel like I sold out. Although there is a niche there, so you never know.
Yeah, there's definitely niche, even if it's just like a one-off sort of benefit gig or something like that.
Yeah, but I believe in miracles. I do.
I see what you did there. That's usually my sort of thing, dropping in a line like that. Um, just give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to shut this curtain because it's blinding me. So often we say this about British summer, British spring,
Oh,
that the
wonderful.
sun's blinding me.
I
That's
live for
better.
the sun. Yeah, I live
I
for
can see now. I even moved my chair over. I was slowly going further and further like that. I thought I'll just get up and shut the curtain. Uh, I've got to address something, which is your scary clown that you've got on your
Oh, my
cover.
persona. My persona, yeah. Mm.
That's scary. That's a creepy looking clown. That I've got to say, a very sad looking one as well.
Yeah, I don't find clowns scary, so I find them mildly erotic, if I'm honest with you. Yeah. So does my wife. No, she hates it.
My lady straight away put her hand up there because we love this person here, Art the
Yeah,
Clown.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
She's
we're
brilliant. Yeah,
massive Terrifier fans,
yeah.
and this is actually Ice Nine Kills single with that for the love of art, work of art, sorry. Um, and we also obviously love Pennywise, you know, from It. And then I looked at yours and I thought that would make a really good horror character because it's got the sad face, but it also looks creepy.
It does. I mean, I bought the clown during lockdown when I did my lockdown album, and I had a single called "The State of Us," which was about the world again,
Yeah,
anti-war and all that, and the state of the world. And that's when the clown first. He was made by a special effects guy in Italy. Made the
right.
mask. You just put it on, and it just become the clown. And he's always come back. He was the bass clown in a lot of videos. And well, on this album, I wanted the clown to really feature. So people see, they know me as the clown now as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of my persona, and I love it. I love the fact that people they automatically when they see that clown, they know it's me. They know
Do you
it's
wear
me,
it on
which is
stage?
no, you can't. It's too heavy and it doesn't have that kind of thing. And you know, I don't want to be in Slipknot. They've got a clown already. There's too many bands out there wearing masks. It's crazy. Every other metal band I see has got a mask on. I mean, what are they like ugly or something?
I don't know. And you know, there's a really good one that's a bit like Cypress Hill called Black Gold, and they all wear
Yeah,
masks. And it's funny because as they've got more bigger, they started to bling up their masks with different gems and chains. And it just makes me think of Crocs with the Croc gems that they put on the.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, what is that with masks? They're really on vogue, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah,
Every band is like, what was that band? I can't remember what they're called. Sleep something. They wear masks, don't they?
Sleep
Yeah,
token. Yeah,
I don't know anything about them, but I just know they don't sound like Slipknot because I went, do they sound
no,
the
no,
same? And then what? The other band named after that movie with Patrick Swayze, Ghost.
Ghost. Oh yeah, Ghost. Yeah,
Were
yeah.
they named after Patrick Swayze? That's what I was told.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that.
You have
It's
to give it a
I
shot. I'm sure because they know I know nothing about. I had a friend who was in them for a very long time, and I know nothing about them apart from my mate was in them, and when I heard them, I thought they were going to be death metal, and it was really like middle of the road. I was kind of
yeah, yeah,
shocked. Yeah, yeah, but
yeah. My partner likes Ghost, and I've seen them live, and they're all right. They're not my thing, you know,
yeah,
but
I don't know, I
they're
know
doing
nothing
well.
about. Them. Yeah, yeah, but I keep on seeing these bands with masks on it. It's like, it's a bit
I've also
disturbing.
got to bring up something else. Your hot sauce.
Mm, yeah. What
Have
about
you
it?
got?
Have you tried?
I don't do hot food. I don't even like curry. I'm terrible. It's from all those years of my mum cooking chicken curry. Now just the smell of it, just no.
Oh, you've never had a proper curry. See, my mum was from the Seychelles and my dad was West Indian,
Yeah,
and I grew up on spicy food and hot food, and I didn't have proper fish and chips until I was 15, and it was
that's
just like
shocking.
I don't do fish and chips, and I just it's too bland for me, and I'll if the rest of the people are doing fish and chips, I'll do fish and chips, but I would never choose it, and
No,
just, I got a lot of fire in me, and I like my food to knock me sideways. And I grew up with taste and stuff which has been seasoned properly and lots
Yeah.
of spice. My mum made her own hot sauce, and my hot sauce is based on her recipe. And yeah, I like fire, unfortunately. And you know,
Is it back in stock? Is it back for
but
sale?
I do sales. I do a pre-order, and that sells out basically on the pre-order. So I've got a pre-order going up on May the 1st or round about that time, and we'll ship in July. It'll run
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, and then I don't know when I'm going to do my next sale, but it is very popular. Yeah, people love it.
Am I
Yeah.
am I going to be seeing you on morning TV doing a cooking show?
Well, see, my biggest passion is food. I love food, and if I could go back, the only thing I'd change is I would have been a chef. I wouldn't have been a musician.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, I love cooking. It's such a like a huge thing to me, massive thing. But I grew up with parents who, you meet people from the Seychelles and West Indies where they talk about food. It's like, a punk rocker talking about, old
Yeah.
punk bands. Food is my god. Yeah.
I'm going to have to introduce you to Ron Bumblefoot Thal from. He played with Guns N' Roses. He did the Chinese Democracy album,
Yeah.
Sons of Apollo. He's got his own hot sauce as well.
All right. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
people who try my hot sauce, they know there's not another hot sauce like it out there. It's very unique, but it's based on a home recipe, my mum's recipe.
so we've got Ron Bumblefoot and yourself doing hot sauce. We've got David Ellison who makes his own coffee brand, and Bruce Dickinson with beer. We could do a whole celebrity chef edition, couldn't we?
Do a chef off, that'll be brilliant. But I mean, I'm literally going out in about a couple of minutes, but I'm taking my boy out for some like
Oh,
decent food.
right.
He has the same love and passion for food. He's only 11, but
Wow.
he loves hot food. He loves like good food. He's really the same sort of fire I
Yeah.
have, and you know, food and sex has got to slap you sideways, or it's not good.
Well, I've only got two more, couple more things, and then I'll let you go out with your son. So
The Easter, isn't it? Bank holiday, so I've got him. He's all right. He's probably in there watching porn.
yeah, I'm taking the kids out tomorrow to RAF Coningsby to see the Spitfires. It's 90 years of the
Oh,
Spitfire, and it's doing a tour from RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire.
are they flying? If I fly.
Yes, and
Oh,
possibly doing a fly past with the Red Arrows. So,
I love
um,
the sound of that. Brilliant
yeah,
sound.
so that's tomorrow, but today is just a nice relaxing day. So I've mentioned two dates. Have you got any more tour dates?
At the moment, I'm looking to get some shows in September, but I hit the tribute band Enigma, so it's really hard. So I don't know if I'm going out to see the Wildheart or Snot Chocolate. You know, it's the way I
Um,
can laugh at it. I find it really funny that Buttons and Roses or AC BC have taken.
I think there's one ADHD I've seen
Yeah,
for ACDC.
trying to get a show at the Royal Albert in Digbeth like on a Thursday night in September, but the Gash have done a complete booking now, so I've lost out to the Gash. Yeah.
That's a great name. So your new album is called what, and when is it out?
So my new album is called Devil. It's on pre-order right now from my store, and the official release is June the 25th. Yeah.
And what's your store?
Uh, cjdevilspit.com. You can pre-order
Devils.
it there. Yeah, cjdevilspit.com. The thing is, if you pre-order the vinyl or CD, you get a free copy of the download on digital copy on June the 26th as well.
Okay. And of course, your hot sauce is called Devil Spit as well, which makes it sound
Yeah,
incredibly appetizing.
yeah. Imagine there's a devil spit at you, it'll probably burn you, won't it? Yeah. If you
So
spat in it,
my
yeah.
last question is always my beautiful lady's Tracy's question, and it's tell us something about you that we don't already know.
I have an OnlyFans. Uh, I do, yes. But you will never recognize me because I wear a clown mask. Uh,
Right?
yeah. and I wear gloves so you don't see the hand tattoos either. Yeah, yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me about your AI guinea pigs or something like
Oh,
that.
involved in the OnlyFans as well. You
Oh,
you got
that's
to
fun.
think you're going to be in. I bet you have an OnlyFans page. Yeah, I bet he
Oh,
does.
that's fantastic. Yeah. A, a guinea pig OnlyFans page. I think you
Yeah.
might get investigated for that one.
We use them as sponges.
I've got a feeling that when I finally meet you for a coffee, we're going to get on like a house on fire. It's been
Yeah, we got to. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, you take care, Dale. All right, and
Yeah, you
yeah,
too. And good
hopefully,
luck with your album.
thank you. Take care, mate.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Brilliant.